Hello, and happy to update the Homewood Flossmoor two projects, the Ice Arena and the Racket Fitness Club. The incentives were designed to make sure that we have enough energy. And so the incentives that are still in place for now is on a new roof, switchgear, and solar and EV chargers. And Mercury Plastics here has done 5 projects with us, and they needed a roof, and they wanted to use the power company funding. They didn't want to write a check, and they wanted the incentives to offset as much as possible of that. So that's why they did it. And here are their numbers: 1.9 million worth of roof and solar combined, minus almost 1.8 worth of incentives. So the incentives covered all but 119,000 of it, and then they save 73,000 per year on energy. And under the blue column here, their project, because they use the power company funding, no payment until it's fully completed and turned on. So that would be like sometime next year when they did it. They'd have their first payment, but the project, even in the 5th year when they made all their payments, only was up $8,500. So it never went negative. So we find the incentives so you guys don't have to. And we've been at it since 1985, only doing commercial projects. And we go where the incentives are. So if there's incentives years ago on lighting or natural gas, we would find those projects way back then. But for now, the biggest incentives are on a new roof and solar combo. And we have power company funding. So you would send over a couple of years financials to Constellation, and as I mentioned, no payment at all until next year when it's fully completed and turned on. So a lot of people like that, so they don't have, and they can plan on making the payments a year from now. So that's how that program works. So the largest incentive is a 30% federal tax credit. And because you're a park district, you actually get a check. So Chicagoland has been designated an energy community, so that gives you an extra 10%. So a dollar for dollar actual check you guys receive on 40% of the cost of the roof and solar combined. And you do miss out on the depreciation part of it, though. So in Trump's big bill, he did bump up the depreciation, but he's taking away this tax credit. So if projects have to be started, quote unquote, and to the safe harbor standard, which means 5% of the materials ordered in warehoused somewhere for the project, and then you have until the end of 2027 to actually have it completed. So this tax credit is on a new roof, switchgear, solar, EV chargers. So it's still a pretty good program, and a lot of people are locking in these incentives right now. And the state still has their SREC program, Solar Renewable Energy Credits. They pay you over 7 years to have it up and running for 15 years. And there's a power company inverter rebate as well. As you might remember, we use Bloomberg certified tier 1 equipment. You just can't say that. They actually check out the company, do an analysis, and they test the equipment to make sure that it lives up to the standards. And these panels, we guarantee the production number for a full 30 years. So here's a project, Camcraft. They did the roof a year prior to doing the solar. So they literally missed out on that tax incentive. 40% of the cost of that roof they missed out on because they didn't do it as a combined project. So here's the numbers for the fitness club. Same solar array as before. We did update the numbers as far as the costs and things like that. So it's 1,224 panels, 9 inverters. And just to recap, there are no holes in your roof when we mount this system up there. It's a weighted ballasted system. And then we tie into the energy wherever your meter is there. And we usually go down the outside of the wall. So there's literally no penetrations on your brand new roof. And then ComEd installs a net meter. So if you were ever closed, you guys probably aren't closed that often, but if you were closed on Christmas and it's sunny and it's producing energy, that net meter will measure and store that on the grid as a credit for your account number there at that location. And you can use them later on at nighttime or in the winter if you build them up, and they stay on your account number until they're used. So at the Racket Club, it's a 722 kilowatt system, the warranty for 30 years. So we're guaranteeing this production number, 780,954 kilowatt hours for 30 years. And that's based on 3.8 hours of sunlight per day. And we've never had a project not match that number that we say. And based on the numbers you gave us, we're covering 100% of your energy use at the Racket Club. So, and that saves you 78,000 per year. And the rates we had in here was a while ago. There was a big rate increase in June. So you might have noticed that in the last couple bills. But as the rates stood then, that's saving 78,000. So it might save you a little more. So roof and solar combo was 2.1 with the funding. And this is the check amount that you'll get right away. You'll get a check from the government, 825,000, and then this SREC money will start to be paid the first quarter that it's turned on. So down here at the bottom, roof and solar funded 2.1 minus the total incentives 1.3. So the incentives cover all but 767,000 of it. Part of the problem is you can't take advantage of the depreciation that the businesses can. So that would take another big whack out of this as an incentive. It would take a big chunk out of this 776,000 that are left. And so, and then saving that 78,000 per year. So on the cash flow, as I mentioned, you wouldn't make a single payment probably till next year, spring, summer. Then you save 78,000 per year. We have the rates going up 3% a year. That's on average the past 20 years of what they've gone up. Then you get 72,000 that year from the state program. You get this $825,000 check. So your project at the Racket Club is positive $550,000 year one. Then as you're making these payments, it goes down. And in year 5, the most it goes negative is $529,000. But then you continue to get the savings and you continue to get some of that SREC money. And so normally if you have to do a commercial roof, there's zero ROI on it. But in this case, the whole project has a 5-year ROI, which is pretty good. And this without solar is if you if you paid for the roof and you missed out on all the solar incentives, you're negative 3.7 million versus doing it with the incentives and you're positive 2.6 million. So it's a $6.4 million decision on one to go one way or the other. Now for the ice arena, we maxed out the roof, 769 panels, 6 inverters. So it's a 453 kilowatt system, 30-year warranty, and we're guaranteeing that production number, 545,000 kilowatt hours for 30 years. Because we filled up the entire roof and had no more area to put panels, we're only covering 42% of your energy use. But that's still 60,000 per year at this 11 cents rate, which might have gone up. And here, this 545,000 in the EPA website gives us 387 CO2 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions reduced each year. So the roof and solar funded price is 1.6. You get a $651,000 check from the government and 400,000 in SREC money. So at the bottom, roof and solar funded 1.6 minus 1,057,000 worth of incentives. The project cost not covered by incentives is 629,000, and then saving 60,000 per year. So on the cash flows set up here using the power company funding, no payment again there. So the roof's completed, solar gets turned on sometimes by next spring, summer. That's when those payments start, and they're about 28,000 per month. But you'll make those payments. You save the 60,000. This is a 3% accelerator. You get another $55,000 from the state program, and that $651,000 check. The project year one is up $429,000, and it slowly goes down to year five when you're fully paid, you're fully invested, you get your full investment made then, and it's negative 445,000. But from that point, with the savings and the additional incentive money, you end up with a 5-year ROI, which, like I said, a roof alone, no ROI at all. It does take quite a while. The big thing is waiting for ComEd to do this interconnection agreement approval, and they're taking anywhere between 6 to 16 weeks to get that approval. We can't apply for the SREC credits or order materials or anything until we have that. So that sets us back a while. But as long as we get the ball rolling, we can get things happening here. So we put down 25, 26 weeks for pre-construction, 8 to 10 for construction on the solar, post-construction 2 to 3 weeks. One thing that it's important to know, I spoke with the roofer, and when we quoted this the first time, the roof quote was pretty high, and there was shortages and things like that during COVID or just after COVID. So now the pricing on the roof has actually come down. So if you are interested, we'll actually have them re-quote that, and that could bring all these numbers down a little bit. So they're pretty confident the numbers are going to go down on the cost of that roof. So if you are serious, we'll update everything. The solar part has been updated, so we're good to go there. But if you need a roof and want to get a check back for it, now's the time to try to look at it. So here's a customer, Kloss Distributing. They had a pretty expensive roof too, and so it was $2.2 million altogether, and they had a 5-year ROI on that as well. And he used the power company funding and didn't pay anything right away, and he was pretty skeptical, but luckily he gave me a little testimonial about a year after.
About a year and a half later, we can say never paid a dime for anything. Got over $2 million worth of solar equipment on the roof, and we're going great. Jim and his team at Revenue Task Force did a great job finding money everywhere between incentives and grants and rebates, tapping into federal money, state money. The energy companies are offering an incentive. So it was really, really a great program. Really happy with what we did here.
And thanks for listening. Let us know if you have any questions. Take care. Bye.